Hi, Alain Dandurand. So I want to talk about global government. My opinion, the reason why we need a global government is to bring all the countries together as one so we could work more effectively and we could avoid segregation that creates contrast, that creates opposition, that could create more violence. So, what global government is a global government with global institutions that help us all work as one to have a better world and to resolve the problems in the world and to make the world a better place altogether. So, what happens with global government is that you have a global leader leading a global assembly, and there's 118 countries around the world, so you need 118 representatives in global assembly that work together with the global leader uh, to innovate, to ameliorate, to resolve problems, and also to bring about global security. So maybe with the global security, we could prevent tragedy, we could prevent problems, we could prevent unnecessary death and unnecessary harm, things like that. So, what we're talking about, if we're talking about global government, is that it's a type of global communism, but not complete global communism, because federations are able to decide for themselves the kind of political paradigm or the kind of political ideology or the kind of political system that they want to incorporate in their own nation. So a politician representing a nation or a national leader representing a nation is there to serve its people and there to implement programs and systems that make it better for the nation people. So I'm talking about global government and global institutions. So then you have global law, you have global security, um, you have a global board of education, you have global courts. So um, having, like I already mentioned in previous video, is the main reason to have a global government is to bring about global security, global balance, global stability, and global fluency. So you talk about the world of communications, or if you look at new programs and new fields of study in university, communications is really big today because the world is interacting together. There's already global trade, global exports, global imports. So as countries or federations are communicating with one another, communications is an important and significant field of study. So then you talk about global internet, and people say, well, the stuff on the internet is not true. But most of the time, when people put stuff on the internet, it's because they're putting truth, or they're, to say the least, they're attempting to put the truth. So then, with global internet, we can clean up the internet with taking away the irrelevant information and validifying all the right information. So I'm talking about global communism in respect to global government, that it's not pure communism, but then you start being more logical when the world is together, when all the countries are together, working together. What would be most logical is having, let's say, only 5 major manufacturing plants that fabricate all products, items. Um, so what that does is that it's able to offer people specifically what they want at an affordable price for everyone. So instead of having the fashion industry or commercials that tell you what you should buy or try to influence what you should buy, uh, what you do with these five large global manufacturing plants is that you fabricate the exact items and products that people really want, that they want by themselves at an affordable price. And we cannot have that type of global economy without a global system. So then you're talking about a global economy, and you're talking about a step further in global communism where you have only five huge manufacturing plants that produce all the products and items that people really want at an affordable price, right? So then when you have a global government, what you can do is that it's not just global government with 118 countries. What you could do is you could split up the world in a more simple fashion. So then if you have Australia, Indonesia, and New Zealand, you can make it one segment, which is called Southern Wet, because there's water around the three countries. And then if you talk about Asia, it's not other Asian countries. It's like you call it Squint Asia, which is like, I'm doing my eyes like Chinese, Japanese, Korean. So it's like a Squint Asian. So you have like Korea, Nepal, Japan, China, Vietnam, Kuwait. So it's basically Squint Asia, right? Their eyes are different. So Asia at that point would be a segment, and then Russia is such a large country, and there's what I read is that there's 62% of Russian land is unoccupied, so it's like wildlife, right? So it's so big Asia. It's so big Russia that it would be a segment in itself. And then you have the West, right? So leave alone South America. South America is mostly Latin countries, and they have like a couple of black countries with Latin people in it. So that's South America. But when I talk about America, it could be its own segment when it's only Canada, Quebec, and U.S. So then a lot of Quebecers, they want to separate because of the language and the law 101. So it's a good reason for Quebec to separate from Canada because they have different intentions, they have different motives. And the culture is relatively different from Canada. So then if Quebec becomes a country, the segment America would be Canada, Quebec, and US, right? So then another segment, what I was talking about, is South America, right? So you have Venezuela, Peru, Puerto Rico, Colombia, etc., Guyana, etc. So that becomes a segment. And if South America wants, they could call themselves Spanish Republic. Republic means it's one, right? So South America becomes one, and it's called Spanish Republic. And then you have EU. What EU is European Union. And what EU is also is European intelligence. So it's European countries working together to resolve problems, to bring about to better things for everyone. So all of Europe could be a segment, right? And then like you have the black countries, like you have Africa, and you have the Caribbeans and you have Haiti. So then you could call that, let's say, tri-sand because it's hot all year round and there's a lot of sand on the beach and stuff like that. So you could call the black countries together, working together as tri-sand. Right? And then finally, the only segment left to simplify it, like I said, would be Arab Muslim countries. So you have like Saudi Arabia, Morocco, Algeria, Qatar. So like Qatar is already centralized government for Arab Muslim countries. So they work together. Right, and EU is already intelligence, right? So EU is like a centralized government. So when I talk about 7 segments worldwide to simplify the world, 118 countries. If you talk about Canada, US, and Quebec, then that would be United Nations. So United Nations, they talked about representing 27 countries or something like that, but it would become more efficient, more efficacious if United Nations simply represented it Canada, Quebec, and US, right? So these are centralized governments. You have 118 countries, and then you have 7 segments, and segments work together. So you have federal government, which is 118 federal governments, and then it goes to segment government, which represents the countries in their segment, and then you have global government. Right. So if you talk about Secret Service, you have global Secret Service, you have segment Secret Service, and you have federal Secret Service. Right. So in a nation, in a federation, you also have city governments, right? And you have like provincial governments, and then like I said, you have the biggest government for a nation is federal government, right? Okay. Okay. So when we talk about a global law, these are you can't be too fascist about it. It's like you people that have often. Judgments on dictators, or they have judgments on totalitarianists, right? So like, as a global government, and you talk about global court or global judicial system, you can't be too fascist. You can't force people to do what they don't want to do. And another thing, you can't control other people. They're going to do whatever they want to do anyways, right? So when we talk about global law, it's essential laws that have to be applicated in each federation, or else it could harm people unnecessarily, it could kill people unnecessarily, or it could create crime, federal crime, citizen crime, civil crime, or corporate crime. So what I'm saying with global law is that you're making it mandatory for federations to apply global law because it's necessary, right? So if you talk about global law, global government, it's what's essential, right? And so there's a lot less global laws applicable to every federation, and you would assume that a federation has a lot more laws. So logically, you would have about 18 global laws that federations have to apply, and in average, every federation there's about 116, 117 federal laws that you have to abide by, right? So you ask what law is. The reason why there's global law and federal law is to bring about justice, security, and protection, right? So a police officer working in a city is there to serve justice, protection, and security for the citizens in that city and also in that country, right? Okay. So then, if we go a bit further with global security, it would be a wise decision to have cameras everywhere in public, right? And in all hallways around the world. So it might seem extreme, but we could prevent a lot more crimes by having cameras everywhere. So you have cameras in a store, you have cameras in a building, you have cameras in public. There's satellites, right? Over a hemisphere, you have planet Earth, and then there's the hemisphere over planet Earth. in the hemisphere is gravity, right? So there's satellites over the hemisphere, and they have cameras that could zone anywhere in public. So so what would also be logical is that you can't put cameras in bathrooms, like public bathrooms, and you can't put cameras in people's homes because it's too private, right? But you could put cameras everywhere, and you have monitors working for global government in the Department Bureau of Global Security surveying, right? Okay. Okay, so I was talking about communications, and I was talking about global internet. So maybe maybe it would be wiser to only have two search engines worldwide to make it more simple for everyone. And you don't have that many internet servers to make it less complicated for everyone. So we're talking about language, okay? So I talked about 7 segments worldwide that represent all the countries in the world, 118 countries. So maybe for communications, because communications today, global communications, interaction, the way it works is that we have to communicate together. So maybe a global law could be that we make it mandatory in each country that you have to learn English, French, and Spanish to be in the workforce, right? So that would resolve communications. And then you talk about the fourth biggest language, which is Italian, and you talk about the fifth biggest language, which is Asian, right? But we only for communication's sake or interaction sake or interpersonal skills, we only need to learn English, French, and Spanish. Okay, so starting at college level to university, eventually, before you work in the workforce, you have to know the 3 languages, which would help everyone out, right? And there's like you could on the internet you could go to French to English or English to French, and you put a word and it translates it French to English or French or English to French. But maybe like it'd be good to put a free kind of function on the internet where you could translate to Spanish, French and English, Italian and Asian. So those 5 languages is free on the internet to translate. So it would help everyone out, and people would learn different languages just by looking up words from time to time. You got a lot of people. What they do with their companies and corporations is their purpose, their objective is to make profit. So what happens is that products, items, services are more expensive for a lot of people, right? Because their objective is profit. It's not to serve clients, right? So my belief is that if you have a lot of extra money that you don't need, you could put it in the right places, right? And the people that don't have enough, you're able to offer it to them. So maybe your objective would be to offer the best that you could offer to clients, right? Um, yeah, without like uh, going down too much below a type of profit margin that makes sense, right? So maybe some people are selfish and they don't care, and maybe it's a good idea to be more generative and generous and to offer more to people. A lot of people are suffering. A lot of people are on the streets. They don't have enough money for food and cigarettes, and they have nowhere to sleep. And during the winter, it is awful, man. In so many fucking cities, sorry, excuse my language, in so many cities around the world, during the winter, people have to sleep outside and some of them freeze to death, right? So someone could just give someone $50 for like a motel room so they don't have to freeze to death. Or we could have maybe more organizations that give free food. Some people don't have good blood, so they could transfuse good blood. Some people need cigarettes, right? There's homeless shelters. Some people they're very strongly addicted to drugs and alcohol. They're active addicts, active alcoholics. They need help. Right? So if someone's on the street during the winter and they don't have a home, maybe the police should go and talk to them, call the ambulance, bring them to the hospital, get the information, and put them in a homeless shelter. And if there's missing, excuse me, if there's missing homeless shelters in the world, it'd be a good idea to invest money there or to endorse there, or just simply to donate. So if we talk about federal governments donating money in the right places, we could donate money in poverty-stricken areas, right? Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm going into like another video. My quest today on this video was to talk about global government, but I'll touch base with poverty. Okay, in another video. Okay, finally, like with global government, we can simplify things better. 'Cause a lot of things are complex. The internet is complex. Maybe some courses in class are complex. Things are complicated, right? So there's a lot. Together, when the world is together, we could simplify things a lot more, and it would be more comfortable for everyone. Needless to say, easier. So, like you talk about cards in your wallet. So technically, logically, the only three cards we need is an ID card, a finance card, and the ones in affirmative positions like police, Secret Service, militants, MPs, soldiers, would be a military card. Okay, so the military card, you have all the information of all the ammunition, the weapons that you purchased, and by the coding system, like the machine, the Interac machine or the banking machine, it's all coded. They have all the information: what you bought, what you returned, that you have a position in the workforce as an affirmative entity, right? Okay, so it's impossible for other people to get those kind of weapons and ammunition unless they have a military card, and you would reinforce that or solidify it by global government. So that would reduce crime a lot, and it would avoid a lot of crime, right? Okay, so if you talk about a financial card, why do we have paper money? Why do we have coins? It's going around everywhere. So there's too many currencies going on, right? So you have the bank, you have people's accounts, and you have coins going around everywhere, and you have paper money going around everywhere. It makes things so complicated for nothing. And needless to tell you, it's not the same thing there. But like there's jewelry and stuff like that. People like sell jewelry, or there's monetary value to certain things, right? So there's like 5 types of like currencies going around all the time, and all we need is one financial card. We don't need paper money or coins, right? So you talk about global finances, right? And everyone just has one financial card. So if it's a private bank or a global bank, it's one financial card. All the information is on your financial card. So your accounts, you have 2-3 accounts. Usually people have no more than 2 accounts. You have subsidiaries, loans, bursaries, donations. You have your credit. You have all the information, right? So it's anything to do with finances is just on one card for everyone, and everyone just has one card. And then finally, the only other card we need is ID. So everything having to do with identification, like mon nom c'est Alain Dandurand, je suis né le 6 août 1980. So you have all the information. My hospital, I was born Lakeshore Hospital, 6:03 a.m., Three Rivers. So ID would have your certificate number, your social, your what do you call that? Your social number is your social insurance number. Your ID card would have like a record of like a judicial record if you did crimes, if you got a pardon, which hospital, like which what is your hospital, what your files having to do with your hospital. Okay, so everything having to do with one name, one person. Okay, so like I'll give you an example. If you talk about like actors and actresses, when they become famous, they change their name. But why don't people just keep their name? Like your birth name, why don't you just keep it? Or like a Secret Service, like they changed their name. But like as a Secret Service representative for your federation, what do you have to hide? Like a passport that has like different names and like different passports. Why are people hiding things? Like even if you're a famous actress or actor or famous musician, why don't you still have your birth name? You see, so there's dishonesty there, somewhere there's hypocrisy, right? So people have to come clean, and if the world is going to work well together, we need that kind of honesty and fluency and transparency, right? So, so my theory is one route, one name, right? So you have a pathway in your life. And they talk about what's important about our pathway is our purpose. So it's like our purpose related to us, our purpose in accordance to us, what we can offer, our potential, our capacity, our talent, our skill, our aptitude is our pathway. One route, one name, right? And like a politician, like it's kind of crooked if he changes the name of the street or changes the address to confuse someone, right? It could be anything. So you got one route, one name, and all the information on an ID card. And when we talk about global internet, right? So global, you cannot have a real simplified global internet without a global government. It would never work. You need representatives working in global intelligence, etc., to have a global internet. But like you look up someone's name and you see their picture, right? And you see their phone number. And like less and less people have residential numbers now. Everyone has a cell phone, right? So you look up a person's name, you look at the picture, you find the picture of the person and the cell phone. And if a person doesn't want them to call them on the cell phone, they block the number. That's their responsibility. But why not? Why can't we have every single person around the world picture on the internet, their name and their phone number? It's because people are hiding things. Like excuse me just a second. I'm gonna grab a cigarette because I'm like craving one. There's politicians. They talk about federal. They talk about national security like keeping things confidential with emails or keeping things confidential with government representatives or assembly members in a federation. But like, why would people have to hide things in the first place, right? So there's something dishonest there. There's something that's not working, right? If someone, another thing too is someone wants to be known, like recognized in the world, they have to be transparent because people are going to find out anyways, or they're just going to be uncomfortable. And then, so you talk about people that did crimes, right? So then, like, what would be logical in terms of global security, global intelligence, and global government is that we somehow together as global citizens, we have to retrieve and expose and know all the crimes that were committed, or we're never going to be able to clean up the global system. It's going to be impossible. So if people know crimes, right? So like a girl's on the street and she because she's on the street, she does crack, or she does crack. So she's on the street and she's a prostitute, and she knows the crack dealer and she knows all the crimes of the crack dealer. Like the best thing for that street girl to do is to go to the local police station and get and give them that information, because if we don't clean up the system, we'll never be able to resolve the problems that we have, right? So if people have information about other people, the best thing you could do is like call the police. And if you're scared to call the police, you have to call your government. And if you're scared to call your government, you have to call your centralized government like United Nations, etc. Right? Because it's information that's very important, right? People are like, they idolize gangsterism or they idolize criminal organizations. Eventually, listen, I don't want to be one to judge, but eventually as global citizens, we have to bring an end to criminality, man. Right? If like people, because of crime, people are suffering unnecessarily, they're being harmed unnecessarily, they're being killed unnecessarily. Eventually we have to work together as global citizens, right? So like, leave alone municipal government, provincial government, federal government, segment government, and global government. We have to put an end to that, man. It's dangerous, right? So then maybe what would help is global military. So, I'm wearing gray, so that it's standard gray military uniforms. So you cannot have a military card unless you're registered as a affirmative entity in the workforce. Okay, so like I'm talking about idolizing gangsterism. I'm talking about idolizing criminal organizations. The worst thing that could happen for a federation is that there's criminals working in a federation. That politicians are criminal, or the assembly, or the leader, or certain politicians are running with the mob. There's a serious fucking problem with that country, man. And citizens in that country suffer in consequence. And people are being harmed fucking unnecessarily because people are tolerating criminality, gangsterism, and criminal organizations, right? Maybe like 17 years ago, certain crimes are irrelevant, right? But let's say like the past 15 years, the past 16 years, we need to unravel, discover, know all the crimes that were committed. And I'll tell you one thing, people, as global citizens, we have that capacity. If we work together, all countries together, we can know all of that stuff. These people should not be in that position doing what they're doing, okay? The guy likes hip hop, right? Me, I love hip hop. There is rap, right? Rap revolves around criminal activity, maybe selling narcotics, gangs. I like rap, but like my concept of rap is like there's justified militaries, there's justified police, good militants, good police, etc. Right? So it's a kind of rap, right? It revolves around red codes, black codes, affirmative action. So I like even like gangster rap. I like it because I identify with it, hip hop brings me through strife. I'm having difficulties. Hip hop brings me through that, right? So you got hip hop. You see my jewelry, my earrings, my nose ring. It's like a hip hop style, but I don't believe in crime, man. And anyone in any kind of logic should not either. It creates more detriment, hazard, and chaos and unnecessary conflict. Needless to say, harm and death for nothing, man. Right? Maybe some people aren't awake enough. They're not aware enough. Some people, they need to get sober. Some people need help. And there's not enough people helping other people, right? And then, well, if I don't care that much, how do I care? Maybe there's good books about that, well-being books, spiritual books. Dalai Lama had a book called Open Heart. You have trouble opening up your heart? Well, read that book. It's called Open Heart, Dalai Lama, right? You want to be more generative, more generous. There's a way, man. You want something better. Listen, if I get better, my life gets better, right? If anyone gets better, their life gets better. When you help people and you offer something, you contribute, you become happy, man. Some people are unhappy. They have a lot of problems, a lot of difficulties. They don't know how to resolve their problems and difficulties. They don't know how to become happy. Maybe some other people could show them, right? Maybe a lot of people, they like to help and offer and contribute without expecting anything in return. That's called altruism. So some people, they're not used to that. So, well, just like even if it feels weird, just like give that street person 25 cents or offer to buy your friend a coffee, and with time it becomes more natural, right? Okay, so anyways, I don't want to go off focus, right? We're talking about global government. It's hard to work together if we're not together. It's hard for us to work as a globe if we have segregated nations everywhere, if we have segregated countries everywhere. Maybe global military needs to intervene in a country because there's too much corruption in a country and people are suffering, right? Good people, innocent people, they're suffering. So maybe it's necessary to bring in global military, right? Maybe with global government and global military, we're going to avoid world wars. Maybe we're going to have like functions, like devices, anti-atomic, right? So if a nation sends atomic bombs to another nation, we just deactivate it right away, right? So it's easier when the world is together, and the world cannot be together without a global government, right? So me, I'm one person. Listen, I have nothing to hide. I'm rugged enough, right? I try to do my best to defend myself, speak my truth, to affirm myself when I have to, right? I want to make the world a better place. I want to make a difference. I want to help people, okay? And I'm not the only one, man. There's fucking, excuse my language, there's billions of fucking people like me out there. So why don't we start working together, okay? And then you gotta, okay, listen, I'll start talking about the other video without doing. You got the three places. I call it the three places. Okay, that's food, shelter, clothing, blood, and poverty. It's a problem. People are lacking this in so many places. Okay, so poverty. The only way we could resolve poverty worldwide is by reconstructing poor areas. Okay, so what that is, second, what that is, reconstructing poor areas, is the underground, right? So you got sewers and pipelines. Okay, so, and it's a constructing highways in certain places, constructing parks, putting up buildings, sticking people in homes, even though they don't have money for homes. They can't sleep outside. Even during the summer, man. Why are people sleeping outside when people have the money to give them a home for one night or whatever, right? So poverty, reconstruction, to put educational systems in poor cities, put a college there, put a high school there, put a university there. So all the nations around the world, they exchange doctrines. You talk about medicine. To my knowledge, there's only three types of medicine. There's native medicine. That's like natural kind of substances, natural aspects of nature, organic, biological, all that. And then you got Asian medicine, you got Western medicine. So you take the best out of the three and you just put it in hospitals. You give it to you give that knowledge to MDs, to doctors, to specialists. So doctrines is like well, I specialize in psychology. I discovered this new thing about psychology. I discovered this about chemistry. I made it. I have a new philosophical doctrine. Like philosophy is a way of thinking, right? So I showed a new way of thinking. You got spirituality, religion. You got medical school, engineering. You got there's some colleges it's certificates, so you offer 13 certificates. So we're exchanging all this information, right? That's communications. But you're talking about decks in college. Everyone has to do high school most of the time, and then you have university doctrines, graduating with a bachelor, a master's, a PhD, right? So I'm talking about the three places. So reconstruction, poverty. So you put up like a building, a school in a city. When people don't have anything, like they're on the street, you have to offer them an ID card. You have to offer them a bank account, and you have to put enough money in their bank account so they could survive. Needless to say, you have to offer them a home, food. The person smokes cigarettes. They're going to freak out if they don't have a cigarette every once in a while. You have to offer them a cigarette, right? So poverty, I call it the three places because it's food and shelter, clothing, one, two, blood, three, poverty. So it's access. So if we have a global government, it's access. A person says, "Well, I want a lot of money," and you're like, "Well, why do you want that much money?" They're like, "Well, because I want to buy this and that, and I want this vehicle, and I want to travel." Okay, so what people are saying about money, why they want money, is access. And then a person says, "Well, I have access to everything." And I have everything I want, and I have like all this extra money. Well, why don't you donate somewhere, man? Like the three places: food, clothing, blood, reconstruction, food, clothing, blood, poverty. Right? So what could happen is federations could donate to other federations. Mongolia has poor areas, right? So you're talking about certain African countries. Well, we have these poor areas. So then the global government, the global leader with its global assembly, they work on it, and there's donations by federal governments. Maybe there's a bank account for United Nations, bank account for Quadar, EU, Russia, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, well we have this, and we could give this away, right? People they need food. They always have food right away. They need clothing. They have clothing right away. They have somewhere to sleep. They have cigarettes. So, so like if we, I call it like the intertwining squares, right? It's like if a police sees someone on the street, they have to take that person, ambulance, to the hospital, eventually to a shelter where the person doesn't have to pay anything because they don't have the money to pay for it. It's a link between homeless shelters, psychiatry, hospitals in general, police, ambulance, resource centers like government social services, resource centers like they know where they could get cheaper apartments. Churches today, they have food banks. Like churches, they give ham and like milk and eggs and yogurt sometimes, so that those resources. But then it's tied into psychologists, psychiatrists, social workers, therapists, nurses. They all work together. They're directly correlated. They're directly linked to one another. So if like I'll give you another example. If someone is an active drug addict and an active alcoholic, and there's an actual record about that, like there's information in a national system, call it a computer system, a national computer system. That person has to go in a mandatory way. They have to go through certain steps, maybe by court, by law, to sober up, because there's a problem and they're suffering more and more, and maybe they're making other people suffer more and more. So but it's not like aggressive. It's like they receive the help that they need, and the specialists know how to work with them. They know what to do with them, right? So then you're starting to resolve a lot of problems in a nation, right? And so I call it the intertwining square. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you intertwine it. It's all connected. It's like two boxes like together, right? So it's a socialist system for every federation. So people talk about capitalism. Well, like we have a really low unemployment rate, and we like to be a prosperous country. Yeah, yeah. Well, listen, if you already have all that kind of stuff resolved, then so be it, right? Maybe you could help out other countries. Maybe US or China or Russia could help out other countries, right? Bring in like assistance, bring in a politician, bring in a corporate specialist, right? So access, like the way it is in Quebec, Quebec is one of the poorest provinces in America, right? So me, I see Quebec as a country. Je suis québécois 70%. Tu vois, c'est mon pays, là, le Québec. Mais c'est pauvre. It's like the poorest state in America. So the people they have to wait a long time for a psychiatrist, a long time for a psychologist, social worker, a long time to have money for an apartment. They go around begging for cigarettes. A lot of people on the street. The welfare is not a large amount. Like welfare, like when the government pays for you because you don't have enough money, it's like $800, $900 that you receive, and they're always going broke, man. They don't have enough money, like even for food or to pay their rent. It's so fucked up, man. And there's other countries that are facing the same problems. Man, it's so sad. Some people like what they're going through and how much they're suffering, and like how they don't know like how to get out, that they're not even conscious aware enough how to get out of their problems and how to have a better life. Like I believe us as people in the world, we should have the life that we truly want in our heart and spirit. We should be the people we truly want to be in our heart and spirit. We should have the career and occupancies we truly want in our heart and spirit, and we should have the dating life and relationships that we truly want in our heart and spirit, right? We shouldn't be like fucked, man. You know what I fucked? Like you're just like there's nothing you could do. You're just fucked, man. There's like even if you want to get out of your problems, you're in a fucking shithole in your life. You're in a shithole in your country. You don't know how to get out, man. And there's no one helping you. Right? Some people, they go to emergency hospital. They have to wait fucking 4 hours before they just talk to someone. Right? You talk about a global society, new doctrines in sociology, marketing, advertisement, with these designer clothes and these brand names and brand marks. Man, a young guy, he's in high school. Okay, he wants like a designer jacket, right? Because he knows like it's popular, it's trendy, and he wastes like $500 on that jacket. If we have only 5 large manufacturing plants that produce everything, then people could get what they want without paying too much. So people are paying for the name, for the brand name, fashion, like the catwalk, beautiful girls, beautiful guys. They're walking, they're selling things, right? It's like you're forcing people, or it's like you're influencing people in a bad way to spend too much money. You have to ask yourself, like, what is it people want, man? What is it people need, and how could I offer that to them? Brand names and marks and marketing and advertisement, the fashion industry, man, it's out of line, man. People are always paying for a name. It's like I go up to someone, I'm like, Caroline, give me $10 because my name is Alain. It's like it doesn't make sense for me to do that. So you talk about selfishness. There is a lot of selfish people. Look, leave alone criminals, right? The thing with criminals, I'll talk to you about gangsters. I'm gonna spark up a cigarette. I've been sober 21 years, so this is December. Okay, we're December 22nd. December 29th, I'm sober 22 years. No narcotics, no alcohol. I'll tell you something about gangsters. The reason why they're there is because people want narcotics, right? Gangsters have to be there if people want narcotics. People say, well, it's illegal to buy narcotics. Yeah. But if people want narcotics, you have to offer them narcotics. So then they have a street code. They have like a mob code where if you owe someone money for drugs, if they don't kill you, it like disrupts the criminal organization, right? And they wouldn't even be able to disperse narcotics unless they had a street code or a mob code that people had to live by. So people are getting shot because they owe drug money. Like if Royal Bank, right? If Royal Bank, like let's say like I went under $500 with Royal Bank, they're not going to send a representative to put a bullet in my head. It doesn't make sense for a private corporation to do that, right? It goes against ethics. They're just not going to do it. So then, well, how do we resolve this gangster problem? You have to legalize narcotics. People, well, we can buy marijuana at stores. Yeah, marijuana, but eventually you have to come to terms that you have to legalize all narcotics. And then some people, they say, well, some narcotics are really bad for our brain. Yeah, like mescaline, crack, what's the new fentanyl? It's like all the young ones are using fentanyl. It's like an actual like medication that they get fentanyl there. I was like downtown Montreal. This guy was puking, man, overdosing on fentanyl. So I called the police to come and help him. Il a dit, c'est quoi qu'il consommait? J'ai dit fentanyl. Il dit, OK, right? Listen, if we don't legalize narcotics, with the exception of the really toxic narcotics, yeah, there's smack too. I think there's only like four really toxic narcotics. We're always going to have gangsters and we're always going to have crime. So the only logical way we could legalize narcotics is that it's owned by pharmaceutical corporations, and it's only pharmaceutical corporations that could sell it because pharmaceutical corporations are already in the business of medication, right? So it goes under like medication or like you talk about like antidepressants, like uppers, or they're like, is it called sedatives? Not sedatives. They're like uppers, like antidepressants. They make you feel good. It goes under like that. The only logical way would be if a pharmaceutical corporations would sell narcotics, but you would have to get a prescription or it'd be out of line. Everyone's like selling everywhere, and it'd be like the same problem. So, like, the only way you could get narcotics is prescribed by a psychiatrist or an MD, like a doctor that's able to prescribe medication is able to prescribe narcotics. So you can't use more than, let's say, I don't know, like how we develop this or incorporate this, but like you can't get a prescription for more than 2 grams of cocaine every week, or you can't get a prescription for more than 1 gram of mushrooms every week. And heroin, like if you like in your record, you're like your life's a disaster specifically because of heroin, then you're not allowed to get a prescription. The doctor under your file, he can't prescribe you heroin anymore, right? You got speed. A lot of people like to go to after hours, right? And use speed and ecstasy and they dance and they take off their shirts and they all look beautiful. They all work out and they get there at 3 in the morning. It ends at 10 in the morning, right? So for them, it's fun to do speed and ecstasy. Some people are not even alcoholics and drug addicts. Then you go to the doctor. You don't have you can't get in touch with your family doctor, so you go to emergency. Emergency gives you a prescription. Okay, well you could have one speed a week, one ecstasy a week. You get it before like I don't know, like get it before like 2 o'clock in the morning at emergency. But then the only way the prescriptions would work is if like you need to buy narcotics, you need a prescription. You cannot sell narcotics. It's only pharmaceutical corporations that could sell it. You have to be in accordance to your prescription. You can't overuse. And if in your record and like your information, like the computer system, whatever, it says that you're not an active drug addict, you're not an active alcoholic. Because listen, active drug addicts, active alcoholics, it really is a problem, man. It destroys their life and it destroys other people's life. I guarantee you, people, if you're an active alcoholic, an active drug addict, if you get sober, you'll be so much happier. Your life gets so much better. And you start obtaining the life that you really want. It's really beautiful, yeah. But if you've never experienced it, you don't know what it is. My only suggestion, try it. Go to an AA meeting. Go to a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. Go to a Cocaine Anonymous meeting. You'd be surprised. It's all people like you. There's a lot of young people today too. These are 12-step programs, NAACA. My theory is we should condense it to 4 steps. It's like out of the 12 steps, there's 4 principles, and there's like 12 traditions. If you condense it, it's 4 traditions. But let's say you have a 4-step program meeting where people go for the meeting. You make it NACA and AA together as one meeting. So then there's like 200 people in one meeting, which would be really cool. Okay, so then you're talking about resolving gangsterism. Listen, the gangsters, they're always going to justify like, well, people want narcotics, we're going to sell it, and we don't care. But they're like sometimes like when you're too careless, it's not good, right? Because these crack addicts on the street, man, all they want to do is fucking use crack. And the crack addict street girl, she doesn't mind prostituting herself for crack. So she's like, that's the one thing that I've seen. Like I had four guy friends. They got addicted to crack. They did not sober up, man. They're still like using crack every once in a while. I don't listen. I don't believe in evil. Okay, I don't believe in the devil. I believe like maybe God has demons working for him, and people would say, well, why would God have demons working? Well, maybe like when you betray too much, you need demons to betray you. Like when you're too deceitful, you need demons to deceive you. But the only source of evil I've ever seen on planet Earth is crack. Me, I never even tried crack. I knew like if I did crack or heroin, I would never come back. I would never get sober. So I never did it, right? Crack is awful, man. It should be like mandatory, like even pressed. Even if you're more fascist, you cannot consume crack. It destroys so many lives. It's disgusting. I see these girls. I talk to these street girls, these street guys. So how you doing? What's going on in your life? People normally they open up to me because they trust me. They could see in my eyes they could trust me, right? I put a lot of value on honesty. I don't care what the person says. If he's being honest or she's being honest, I always consider it. I have compassion, etc. But like crack should be like non-existent. It's so disgusting, and like even the crack dealers selling crack, they should know better. Maybe they have their own problems. They're like crazy in their own way, right? So I'm talking about pharmaceutical corporations. So we're talking about like manufacturing plants, right? Like all products and items. Maybe one of those manufacturing plants could be all pharmaceuticals. It's like one plant. However you divide that plant, it like disperses all pharmaceutical products all around the world. It makes it more affordable. I was talking about like you look up someone's name, you see their picture and their phone number. But maybe it's like maybe it's good for us to compete. Maybe it's good for companies to compete because it lowers the prices. There's less inflation, right? So maybe it's good to have different mobile companies, different types of cell phones. The thing that I have trouble understanding is why people have computers in public, like smartphones. Like, why don't you just have like your laptop at your house, or you bring your laptop to a cafe? Like, is it really necessary to have computers in public? Like, why are you on your computer in public? Like, if you have one at home, or you could bring your laptop to a cafe, or you have your desktop in your workplace, or desktop in your home office. It's a bit weird, yeah. It's like everything is like becoming more digital and mechanical. And another thing I noticed too, like you phone corporations, they have an automatic voice, like robotic voice. But what people need is a rep to answer the phone and to offer them the best that they could offer them. this automatic stuff, and you have to push different numbers, different codes, and it makes it like so much more complicated for nothing. And people are looking for jobs. Some people would love to answer the phone and serve the person, right? So I talk about politicians. If you're a politician, you're there to serve your people. You're not there to like create this fancy stuff that you think would be cool for your federation or your country. It's like you're there for your people. Like a corporate owner he has a corporation to generate profit. Why does he not have a corporation to generate money for his employees and for clients or patients? Right? So people have it all backwards, right? It's like people, they're aloof, they're indifferent, they don't care, they're shallow, they're selfish. A lot of people are very egotistical, egocentric. There's a lot of smart ass, cockiness, arrogance. But why? It not only harms other people to be like that, it harms ourselves to be like that. If you're like that, you're not going to stay happy very long. You become happy because you're doing things that make you feel good about yourself. That's what self-esteem is. I don't know if I want a lot of arrogance. Sorry, I don't know if I want a lot of confidence or pride. That's based on ego. Ego comes from fear. I want to feel good, man. I want to be happy. I want self-esteem. But you cannot have self-esteem if you're doing fucked up things. You can't have good self-esteem if you're hurting other people. You can't have good self-esteem if you're hurting yourself, right? People want to be famous. They want a lot of money, right? Okay, look, maybe you have something to offer. Maybe you're an artist, right? You're a good actor. You're a good musician. You're a good dancer, good MC. You're a good painter, whatever, a good poet. You're offering something, so you become recognized and money comes with it. But like people want money, they want power to be like someone better. Like they want this to be better than other people. But why? Why do people have to be better than other people, man? People might have less than you, or some people might be better in other ways, but no one's better than anyone else. In reality, at the same time, no one's worse than anyone else. You might be like your life might be more difficult. Maybe you have a handicap, but it doesn't mean you're less of a person. We're all humans. And one of the things I notice about being human is that we're all imperfect. So it's like, what are you aiming at anyways? The only thing we could do is get better, and a good way to get better is to make things better for other people, right? It's all backwards, man. What people want, well, I want to, she's beautiful. I want everyone to notice how beautiful I am as a supermodel. Okay, and then what? Then what are you gonna do? Well, I'm gonna make money and. Okay, and what are you gonna do with the money? And like, you know, and I love I love the era that we're in. We're in the spiritual era, right? And what that is that all religions are together, like a circle. Like a circle to me represents everything always, right? A circle to me represents all religions, all ethnicities together. I find it cool, different ethnicities. You talk about 7 segments in the world. Like people look different, and like the guy's attracted to the girl, the woman's attracted to the man. Like, that's different, and it's nice. But maybe like as a sociological melting pot of genetics, we're going to be like one ethnicity one day. So I'm talking about the spiritual era, right? So it's like it's not like religion. Religion is morality, right? So as I understand it, there's like 4 aspects to spirituality, there's virtues, morals, principles, and values. So religion is just morality. Religion was good. Like Jesus in the first century, there was Muhammad, I think it was the 7th century, he wrote the Quran, and Joshua was the 5th century. What came out of morality was law. What law does mainly is protects people, right? But I love the spiritual era. And then you got yoga. People do yoga, like it's positions and stretching to like align your body. Because like people are discovering it's good to be one body, mind, and soul, to be like more wholesome, healthier. And then there's Tai Chi, there's meditation, prayer. So it's like a circle. It's like all the religions are representing the circle, everything always, right? And we evolve into higher beings. Like maybe like planet Earth is the first planet that we're on. Like we come from like insects that were dinosaurs that became a bacteria in the ocean, to a fish lizard that started walking on land, that became a kind of like walking lizard that became like a type of monkey, to an ape, to a human. So, anyways, I forgot what I was going to say, but it's like the spiritual era, and I'm talking about global government. So it's like spirituality brings everything together, and a lot of books that people read nowadays is well-being books. So then you're talking about principles, values, virtues, and morals, right? And that helps people, and it helps themselves, right? Yeah. Now my speech is going on a long time, so I'm gonna cut it short. I'm gonna do another speech. It's Alain Dandurand. I love you guys, and we'll touch base sometime soon.